been quite a while. I know I haven't uploaded this month for real, and it's super late into the month. The month is almost over. It's supposed to drop like the first week of every month. Lately, I've been having a lot going on in life. There definitely will be a follow-up video to explain all of that. I've been dealing with like a lot. I've been dealing with a loss in the family, so I went back home for a few weeks, or not for a few weeks, for a week, and then I've just been trying to figure out where I'm going to be going moving forward and where this channel is going to be going. This is all just to document, my life, the things that I do. And while I was out in Virginia, that's where I'm from, I think not randomly one night, I knew I wanted to do this. I was talking to my dad and I was like, hey, let's just sit down and have a conversation. And me and my dad, we usually, growing up, I've always been able to have conversations with them. That's something that's really big in my family. But I wanted to just kind of give people a look into that dynamic of a father and son having a conversation, or just a parent and child having a conversation. Because I've come to realize as I've gotten older that a lot of my peers or friends don't have that or haven't had that. And I think it's a valuable thing that can go overlooked. Having just a conversation, a deep conversation, or just a conversation in general. I think it's something that can just go overlooked. A lot of the times we don't think to talk to our parents or truly understand who they are. I know a lot of people have interesting relationships with their parents. I know I had an interesting relationship with my parents. We all do, but I think, one thing that we can just overlook is just like we all are trying this life thing for the first time. Even our parents, even though it's hard for us to sometimes grasp that, depending on the relationship you have with them or just certain moments that you have with them, it's hard to grasp that like this is their first time too. And it's not to excuse anything, good or bad, but it's just to gain that perspective. The same things that we've gone through that have made us who we are today, it might not be the exact same things, but they've gone through similar things that have molded them into who they are. And I think gaining that understanding for your parent is something that should be more important than gaining that understanding for, like, a lot of times it's easier for us to just gain that understanding for our friends or people that's closer to our age, or a partner, you know what I'm saying? But like your parents, you would think you would get to understand them, you know what I'm saying, as they're getting to understand you. So I thought it would just be a good idea for me to learn more about my father and to just kind of showcase what that is like. I don't know. Hopefully this could be something that could spark people that watch it to sit down and just have a conversation with their, with their mom or their dad, and really get to know who they are, and how things in their life molded them into who they are today. So without further ado, here is a podcast that me and my dad did. For me, it's a little bit of like growing up in school, I couldn't sit and listen. I couldn't take notes. I couldn't I couldn't stand like sitting there and listening to somebody talk and tell me stuff. Oh, yeah. It wouldn't click. I had to like I don't know, it was weird. I had to like be hands-on with something or like writing it down in my own way, but I like was still a terrible note taker. I think it wasn't until like college I was sitting in a perspectives class and I was taking notes, and it like clicked on how to take notes. And it was just like listening to what the person is saying. For me, it was listening to what the person was saying and then writing it down like breaking it
You know
down.
the weird thing that I had to do? Well, not to cut across.
No, you good.
No, but the weird thing that I had to do, your granddad used to have a voice recorder.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking his voice recorder to school,
Mm.
and I just record what the teacher is saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get my headphones later on, and I listen to it.
And that's how you was like able to retain.
That's how I began to be able to like self teach myself.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Teach myself. Cause sitting in there just listening,
Mm-hmm.
or go home, you gotta read this, you gotta read that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. For me, it's like
by the time I get to the third page,
nah, I get that. I guess like that can kind of go into like what you saying, like being younger and figuring out, you know, what worked out best for you.
your way.
Yeah, how to do it your way. I guess like, you know, that's something that I didn't know that you had to do, but I'm pretty sure for me, for myself, and for the people watching, you know.
Oh, we already started.
Yeah, we started. I
You
just
see
went
how you
into
do
it.
that? We won't go give no warning.
Yeah, no warning at all, because it felt like it was just authentic. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, let's just go into it.
I
But
guess I'll go with it.
you know, tell me or tell us, you know, a little bit what you want people to know about yourself, or tell us about like about yourself. Yeah, tell us about yourself.
About myself.
Yeah, like what do you like coming up or growing up or
Like what?
anything, like the general. If you were to write this all down, like
Oh man.
if you was doing like a biopic, what would be like just a summary of who you are, you know, like name, all
Who
that
am
stuff.
I? My name?
All of that. Like, who are you? Tell us
My
about
name is your
yourself.
name. But yeah, who am I? That's deep. I think we discover that on a daily basis. I can't answer who am I. I don't know how deep you asking the question.
It's however you want to go about it. If you want to be surface level, we can go surface. If you want to go like just the like a basic like who are you? Like if you introducing yourself to.
Oh man, I'm a business. I don't like to take myself too serious, but I know I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could be intense at times. I feel like I give off an energy of being intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always a chance to network. So I always been a next level, out the box type of thinker,
Mm-hmm.
which in so many ways made me feel like I was a loner,
Mm-hmm.
but not that I wanted to be a loner.
You just felt different from the people around you.
Right, I knew I was different. It wasn't even like a feeling of, oh, I feel happy, I knew I was different. So it took more energy for me to fit in than, you know, to try to fit in, to downplay myself a little bit just to fit in. So I always been a out the box type of thinker.
So where was it? Like, what's the place that you were like coming up, growing up? What was this place where you were having to, you know, not having to fit in, but growing up? Like, where'd you grow up at? Like, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Suffolk,
Suffolk,
Virginia.
Yeah. You can't, even though you're talking to me, I know these things. Like,
yeah,
people,
I'm Lake Kennedy, LKP, if you will. Yeah, I grew up in Lake Kennedy, where ball was really life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to hoop, dog. You had to know how to hoop. You know that it went down every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the park, Lake Kennedy Park. You had to know how to hoop, and I was fortunate enough to know how to hoop at least a little bit, to have a somewhat of a stature in there. You know, in my city, in my neighborhood. You know, So yeah, I'm suffer Peanut City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I kind of want to go into like, I am interested into knowing. We can go a few years back to when you became a parent, if we can.
Okay.
I want to go from who you were then, before you became a parent, and then if you can give us the lead up to however far you want to go down into being a parent, and then
Your grandparents gonna be watching this?
I think by now
Okay, all
they
right. They already know what it was.
yeah.
Yeah. But so what are you asking?
I want to know the from whatever age. I want to say, let's say like let's go 14.
Oh man.
Let's go from 14 to parenthood.
14 to parenthood.
Yeah. Or however close you want to. Who were you then?
At 14?
Who were you before parenthood?
Before parenthood, I was that I don't know, because me personally, even though I knew I was kind of serious and I used to take little angles to try to feel certain people out, or feel people out, period. Um, who was I at 14 at that stage? I was just a kid that was trying to find his way. You know what I'm saying? Get his own identity. Growing up as a PK for me, and for people that don't know what a PK is, growing up as a preacher kid, I had to find my own identity. So that was a added stress. I grew up in a house with, excluding my father, I grew up in a house with 5 women. I'm the only boy. So, I really, all my life, had to find my way. So it was a constant journey on finding who I was. And I knew I had to I felt like I had to find my own way and get my own identity at an early age, because I didn't want to be. You had so many people that already had who you supposed to be. Your daddy a preacher. You're supposed to be a preacher. You got a uncle that's or a cousin that's one of the biggest type of street images that it was, or a drug dealer, kingpin, or whatever you want to call it. And you had so many different dynamics on either side of your family, and I'm trying to find out who the hell is Vest, who the hell is Sylvester Silver Jr. So at 14, I wasn't a regular kid, man. I don't feel like I was a regular kid. you know. You know, but I was on that constant journey. But one thing that I was always sure of my presence. You know what I'm saying? And at a young age, I always had empathy for people. You know, if I'm gonna be at all honest, I always had a strong empathy for people, and certain people that couldn't protect themselves, I felt like I could stand up for them. You know.
I feel that. So, basically, you spent a big part of your adolescence, like trying to gain your own identity, get out of the shadow of whoever it was that was ahead of you, like that.
Trying to get out the shadow. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Trying to get out the shadow of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out of that shadow, because when I was growing up, it wasn't, and me being a preteen or a teen at the time, it wasn't cool to be a church boy. it wasn't too cool to be a church boy. So, or at least that's what I thought because I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm a kid at the time. Shucks, I went to church so much. I thought that's where you're supposed to do your homework at.
Yeah,
If you weren't doing your homework at church, then
that was kind of how it was for me growing up too. Obviously, if I'm your son, I grew up in the church as well. So, but for me, I think
you know something I don't know.
moving to Atlanta and was a culture shock to me because I spent a big part of my younger years in church. Like summers, I was in VBS, so I was in Vocational Bible School. I was always going to church on every Sunday, even if Grandma had to come and pick us up from our house and take us to Sunday school. Yeah, we was going to church. I was always at Bible studies. I was always at rehearsals. Even if I wasn't in the choir, I was sitting at rehearsals. You know what I'm saying? I really grew up in the church, and then moving to Georgia, it was like I would probably meet 1 out of 10 kids that went to church.
The church dynamic was so crazy, right? Because this the thing, and this piggybacks a little bit off of me trying to find my own identity, right? With being a PK, it had got to a level that I'm selling weed, okay, and I'm selling weed heavy. I'm throwing events heavy. At a certain age, I was about 17, 18 or so. And but Sunday, I'm gonna be in church.
You in church, yeah.
I'm with my cousins. For the sake of the video, I'm gonna spare their name. So regardless of what went on the night before, come Sunday, if I got to drive all the way back from Virginia Beach to Suffolk, dog, I'm driving all the way back to Virginia Beach to Suffolk. I got to be in church. You know what I'm saying? Because I looked at that as one day that I didn't have to look over my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Or that was a safe haven. That's where I come from. You know what I'm saying? So even though I was trying to find my own way and find my own identity, I never turned my back on, so to speak, on the church. You know what I'm saying? Because that I knew that was part of my foundation.
So, seeing that you had this constant, I would say, battle of identities, of these two identities, how did you end up figuring out the man that, at least at that time, from 17, maybe early 20s and stuff like that, how did you figure out the man that you needed to become at that stage, or whenever that shift may have happened where you figured out the man that you felt like you needed to be, or the man that you needed to be?
When did I'm guessing that you're asking when did I find out that what type of man I needed to be, or
wanted to
that
be,
I wanted to be?
Yeah, like
I knew that I wanted to be a family man. You know what I'm saying? And in knowing that, or thinking that I knew that, that was a gift and a curse, all at the same time. But I wanted to have the same dynamics that I seen my father and my mother have. You know, they've been married 52 years. They met when they was 8 and 9 or something to that effect. Maybe a little bit younger. So, and when my dad met my mother at 7 or 8 or whatever, he went home and told his dad, "I'm gonna marry that woman." That girl, crazy. So, and I'm pretty sure he'll tell you the story himself. So I wanted that dynamic. I wanted to have a love that resembled that.
Me too.
Yeah, hey man, listen.
Me too.
When you hear when you see them together. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo,
That's all I need.
give me this.
That's all I need in life.
If you give me this.
I think that's what kept me from. I know. I ain't gonna say I think. I know that's what kept me from, like, entertaining the fast, like, playboy type life. Granted, I had 2 examples of playboys in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One being you and my older brother. So it's
Wait a
like,
minute.
not in
You mean a playboy?
Like,
I get it.
Yeah,
I definitely get it.
yeah, and I think because it was 2 things for me. It was, I would want to be as cool as y'all were, like that y'all are, but like back then I thought it was so cool to, like, even just the idea of, like, more so my brother than you. It was my Eli that was like more, like, girls are going crazy. I saw
the love doctor.
Yeah, the love doctor. Like, had a nickname.
Matter of fact, your granddad
gave him that nickname. Like, so Eli was more so the in my face, like, you know, I'm seeing him with all these different girls. I think for you, for me to you, I think it was when I got a little bit older. I think when I got a little bit older, I kind of pieced together, like, my dad can talk to know, you know how to talk to him, and it was more so that from you, like, not that you were, like, I'm not saying I seen you doing anything, but it's like just how you were able to communicate, and, like, I wasn't like that. I was very shy, and, like, when it came to girls, when I got to that stage in my life, but, like, seeing those things, it was like, you know, I definitely had influences to where you would think I would go, like, and be like that. I had a brother that I'm sharing the same room as him. He giving me game, like, giving me game, showing me game. Like, I'll go with him to a girl house with him, and then he'll come back, and then the girl will come to my mom's house and hang out with her. And I'm like, how you know what I'm saying?
How you pull this off?
Yeah, how you pulling this off? He's showing me game.
That's
you know
the
what I'm
love
saying?
doctor, though.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, I'm saying that to say,
this is the same brother. I'm not even gonna say that. But I'm gonna get this story real quick. This is the same big brother. You know what? You can edit this out if you want to.
Yeah, I'll probably talk to him and be like, you want me to keep this in?
But he wrote a letter to a girl, and I'm gonna just paraphrase it because the teacher she was just all to pieces. But he was telling the girl how, and he was about in the 5th or 6th grade, how she made him feel. And the paraphrase at the end, he told him she makes him as hard as a diamond.
Oh, that's.
And the teacher is the one that found the note, and and she was like, if you know how hard a diamond is, and the words, how he was putting the words together, it really would have went over the young girl head, you know. But the teacher, she was blushing just reading the letter, and she found out about the letter. But yeah, that's the love doctor. So I know the game that he probably.
Yeah. So it's like seeing those things. Basically, my whole point in bringing it up was just like, and I definitely had my fair share of, like, probably dating a girl and then she not being worth none, and then, you know, a lot of guys have that nowadays what we call your villain origin story, where a girl break your heart and then you never go back.
You gotta go there.
Yeah, you gotta
visit that.
And I definitely had my phase where I.
For me, that was your mother.
Well,
all right, I leave that alone.
But I went through that phase, but I think it was grandma. I know it was their marriage that, like, snapped me out of that. And I was like, I quickly saw the path that I was going down, and was like, I don't want to keep dealing with this type of stuff, like this fast paced lifestyle. I was like, that's not even in me. Like, that's not me. Like, I think I was like, 'cause I was a really late bloomer. I was like maybe 19 or 20. So? If that's late blooming.
You think you was a late bloomer?
In this day and age, I was like 20, like, before I really started, like, I didn't have my first girlfriend until I was 18. Like, I was like, I didn't have my first girlfriend until I was 18, so it was like.
I'm glad. Oh, I was glad that you didn't, that you bloomed the way you bloomed, to be honest.
I feel that. I think that's how it's supposed to be. I feel like you avoid a lot of
Well, it depends on which way you want to look at the glass.
Yeah, there's different ways to look at it. I feel like you're more developed mentally a little bit at 18. I'm not saying that if you do it like if you in relationships earlier or anything.
Well, experience is experience, regardless of when you get it.
Yeah, because you could be 24 and have your first relationship and still make the same
dumb mistakes that you would have made as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of my friends were. I'm not gonna get too deep into this, just for the sake of the rest of the questions. But I had a lot of friends that were popular with girls or just in general. So I think I had a lot of like, not experience, but like I was able to see what they were doing right and wrong and like pick up from that. And I'm a really good, like if I see it, I'm a visual learner. If I see what you do,
right,
I'm not going to make the same decision that you make. I don't got to see it too many times to know, like, I don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? I take things, I want to say at face value. But you were talking about, you knew that you wanted to be a family man because of grandma and granddad's marriage and stuff like that.
And the pursuit of being an entrepreneur and successful was it was heavy on me. It was heavy on me, and I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? And at one point in my life, I wanted it by any means. You know, now when I say any means, I'm talking about any means within myself, not me taking from anybody. You know what I'm saying? I've never been a taker. I've never been a stealer. Somebody that'll steal and take from somebody and hurt somebody else in that facet. But I'm going to go get that bread. I'm going to go get that money. I'm going to make things happen. I'm going to put certain people together so I could get that money. That type of success, that type of power is what I was hungry for.
I feel that. You know? Did you, at any point, whether it was during your early... I actually want to ask, this isn't written up here, but I actually want to ask, like, when you started to have kids, maybe when it was with Raven or when I was born or when my sister was born, early on in your parenting...
Well, all of them your sister.
Yeah. Yeah. But early on in your parenting, did you ever... What were the challenges, whether it be mentally, or what were the challenges that you faced within yourself or just in general? What were like some of the challenges that you that you faced?
Trying to be a parent. Well, I was young, so I didn't know anything. I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know anything, you know, as far as really trying to be a parent. I had the idea of being a parent from seeing the end results of being a parent. I said that to say that, and I said this before, that when I went to go wipe my ass, it was toilet paper there. When I go to hit the switch, the lights came on. You know what I'm saying? When I go in the refrigerator, it was food there. All of that just didn't magically appear or happen. You know, my dad bust his back for those things to be there. I didn't have that dynamic or that of that yet when I was young, trying to be a parent and having kids. My first child, I was about 18, 19 years old. And that's your older sister, Raven. You know. And the crazy thing about it, I didn't tell your grandmother about that until I had her take me to get a job at Smithfield Packing. I had my interview at Smithfield Packing. I'll never forget it. And after I secured the job, that's when I told your grandmother that I had a baby on the way. Because I knew I couldn't tell her and my dad that I got a child on the way and not have a a job, even though I was making bread.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I was doing whatever I was doing, making bread, they couldn't know about that. Yeah.
So they had to.
So I had to get a job. So yeah, I didn't know anything. You know, so one thing that I just had stuck in my mind was the work and grind, work and grind. You know, and that's what I imprinted in my head. If that answered the question.
No, that did. Nah, you that was perfect. What with you not knowing, but thinking that you knew, what would you have done differently, or if you could go back, what would have been some advice you would have given yourself?
What I would have done differently, as to what? What you mean?
The previous question, like how you said like about early parenting, like if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, like if you had like a couple of seconds to tell the younger you at that time, like whatever you could choose, whatever point, whether it was when you had Raven or when it was me and Lon, you know what I'm saying? You can like early parenting. What would have been a point where you would have felt like you needed advice from yourself now? What would that advice be?
I think that advice would have been, to be honest, go harder. Go harder. Um, I always had a feeling, but if I'm telling myself that advice from now until then, it will probably be different. Um, my first instinct, and I just caught myself, my first instinct is to go harder. You know what I'm saying? It's always to go harder. But if I was to really just take a step back, to answer that, I will say to be more grounded. You know what I'm saying? To tap into more of a spirituality than the things that I was chasing. Because for a long while, it was about things. It was
Materialistic.
about
Materialistic.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was about things and money. But if I was, I think I would have told myself to be. That's a good question. I would have told myself to. This gonna sound so surface, and I don't even know how it would come across. But I feel like I gotta say to meditate. Nah, that's real. It for real. That's real. Where I'm at now is so different than where I was at then. You know, so it's kind of hard for me to reflect to then. In so many ways, because meditation, tapping into spirituality, and the things that matter, makes everything else that I had done seem dumb.
Meaningless a little bit.
Yes.
I'd get that. Once
it makes it seem so
when the things that you're chasing,
blah.
Yeah, when the things that you're chasing are like materialistic, or things that are just fueling your yeah. Dang, where was that? Oh, chasing those materialistic things, or the things that drive your ego.
And it wasn't all just chasing those things, because one of the major things that was one of the major, I'm not gonna say pitfalls, but one of the major things was chasing the lifestyle of my mom and dad.
Mm.
If that makes sense at all.
I get that. It's like chasing an expectation you made for yourself.
That is of a different dynamic.
Different time.
Right. In order to achieve that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a different, whole totally different. You got to meet the perfect one. These things got to be kind of aligned. You know what I'm saying? And I was chasing it, trying to make it happen. Yeah. And I fell into that trap of trying to I'm putting the pieces. You see what I'm saying? I'm taking this, okay, I'm going to put this piece here. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put that piece there. You know? And with me doing it, it had no foundation.
Yeah. It was yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like when you're following any expectation that you set for yourself
without a foundation.
Without that foundation, like they had a different foundation, whether it be they grew up together from the age of 8 or 9, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they had history together before.
I didn't want my path, I wanted his path.
Yeah. You know, I get that.
When it came to relationship, man, when it came to having a family,
mm-hmm.
you know, one of my, and I'm not trying to segue into it, but one of my biggest one of my greatest demon, or whatever you want to call it. I hate to do that. I can't believe I just did this. that killed me. But one of my greatest demon is the dynamic of my family. That's how that was. That used to haunt me so much. And I know everybody got their own, as far as the crazy folk that's on social media got their thing about when a man talks about their demons. But when I say what I say as far as a demon, I'm not talking, I'm talking solely about trying to have that family dynamic and not succeeding.
Yeah, the thought of failing at
it wasn't the thought. It failed. You see what I'm saying? It failed because I wanted a family. You know what I'm saying? So when that didn't transpire, or that didn't happen, it wasn't sustainable, because you're dealing with two different types of people. In order to have a family, it starts with two people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And those two people got to be on the same page. You know what I'm saying? In order to keep that dynamic together. You know, but I had to learn that it stayed together, but not in the way that my parents stayed together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm able to see my son. I'm talking to you now. I'm able to see my kids and spend time with my kids, but it's not in the dynamic that I thought it would be. I always said I need my kids to grow up in the same house with their mom and their dad. That was my story. That was for me. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't to be for my other kids. That wasn't the dynamic that there was to have, that was supposed to be afforded to them. I had to learn how to begin to come to grips with that. And that didn't happen until start to happen, that I could come to grips with it, till about 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That hunted me from that time. So I went on a spree of just trying to have that dynamic, if that makes sense at all. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted that dynamic. I wanted to have a child grow up in the same household with his mom or her mom and dad, and I was willing to do whatever it took
To make that
to
happen.
make that happen.
I feel that.
But what I had to end up realizing was that achieving that and being unhappy, not loving yourself, not recognizing the things that you have done and the things that you are doing and the strides that you have made, is detrimental to you. You're destroying yourself. Chasing something that you're looking at it differently than what it needs to be looked at for your story.
Mm-hmm.
I can't base my story off of my father's story or my mother's story. It got to be, this is my story, and this is my kids' story. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but we still have a strong, I feel, family dynamic within all the mistakes that was made, or not mistakes that was made in the pursuit of, having that family dynamic. If that makes sense at all.
No, that
I'm not sure if it makes sense.
no, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Even when I know it makes sense, I might even say, does
If
that make sense?
does that make sense? Yeah, because sometimes you got to make sure the person is listening.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. So, you were talking about basically how your fixation on the relationship of grandma, that and how that affected you, and basically that kind of did tie into the advice you would have given yourself. But I wanted to kind of touch up on, since I'm talking to you being my father, and I definitely know how our relationship shaped me today. How was the relationship with you and your father growing up, and how did that shape you into who you are today? And you can touch up on that in any way that you want to. There's no right or wrong way.
As a child, if I'm going to be at all honest, as a child growing up, not understanding the dynamics of that food in the refrigerator not just magically appearing. As a child growing up, I had some issues with my dad. Just because I didn't understand the dynamic of this joker had to work. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I wanted him. You know what I'm saying? My mother didn't have to work in a pie shop, if she didn't want to. He took care of everybody and everything. And everything that we have and able to have now, and the things that we have to bestow in front of us to take to the next level, is because of his work. So I had some issues, but those issues quickly went away. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw the work. I saw what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? And then once I became a man myself and had kids myself, it turned into complete admiration, man. Because the things that a black man go through is, no one faces those things, man. No one faces those different dynamic. It's no other culture of individuals that faces the dynamics that a black man faces, that's trying to provide for his family, that's trying to be a positive role model for his community. No one faces those issues, the issues that comes along with that. And my dad did. He went through it. You know what I'm saying? He stayed true to himself. He stayed true to my mother. He stayed true to his kids. And above and beyond all of that, this guy stayed true to his faith. You know what I'm saying? It don't get no better than that. He's not a millionaire. He's not an Avenger, but he's my hero because of the things that I seen him do. You know what I'm saying? I could touch that guy. You know what I'm saying? None of his grandkids has to go without because of him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not just him, my mother, being the type of woman that stood beside him, the way that she did. It was so in sync. Hey, listen, if it was, that's Superman and Wonder Woman. My mom and my dad, they my hero. But growing up, I had some issues with it. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't have that time to be one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't understand that. I couldn't understand that shit. Not for the life of me, I couldn't understand that shit. I could see him spend time with other individuals to help them, but he didn't have that same time for me. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't not because he didn't want to. The individuals that he was having time for, he had a job to do. You know what I'm saying? And as for me being a kid, I couldn't grasp that. You know what I'm saying? But I had a mother that would help fill that void. You know what I'm saying? Because he was working full time at the shipyard, a welder inspector at the shipyard, where he did over 30 years working for him. And he devoted his life to teaching theology in the church and in the C.H. Mason Bible College and Wiggins Bible College and whatnot. And he devoted his life to the ministry and did his thing there. All of that, you know what I'm saying? Now, that was a double sacrifice.
Yeah.
If that makes sense at all, because I had to I sacrificed time unknowingly that I felt like I deserved and that I wanted with my dad. You know what I'm saying? But he just wasn't able to deliver that. You know what I'm saying? Now, some people might say he should have found time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the type of conversations that I could have with my father then and even now, man, I couldn't change. I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when I talk to him, when I have something that I need to talk to him about, even when I was younger and even now, I'm gonna get that meat. I'm gonna get that real shit. He's gonna give it to me on he gonna hit every angle with it. And then double back to his faith about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting all aspects of it. So he gave me the tools that it wasn't about throwing the baseball. It wasn't about teaching me how to shoot jumpers. Because he gave me shit that I know, and I know now and I knew then that other kids didn't have.
Yeah.
It gave me an edge on life. So it wasn't about he showed me how to shoot a jumper. Nigga, I could out-thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could ground myself if I needed to.
You know what's crazy about that? Now that I'm hearing this, it shows, I don't know if you think this is like it showing, but in my upbringing, more so, well, obviously when you were raising me, you would take that extra time to like make sure that we was playing catch, or make sure that you would just make me go outside and shoot jumpers all day, even though I suck at basketball. But you was like trying to do that and like spend that time. And now hearing you say, because of the absence of that, you know what I'm saying? Granted, you still gained a lot from him, but I think it definitely shows with the examples that you even using. You know what I'm saying?
Because it was one of those things, and you got to look at the era that my father grew up in. It wasn't a whole bunch of "I love you."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I made it a point that I would tell my and I'm gonna tell this to the camera. I ain't stopped kissing this joker. It won't no little baby, and I mean not little baby, Lil Wayne and baby type kissing on the lips and stuff. But I ain't stopped kissing my son till he was about 4 or 5 years old. And I don't care what anybody talking about. I made it a point to always tell my son. If I ain't tell my girls, I made it a point to tell my son that I love him, and not for it to be weird. I was grown before I was able to tell my dad that I love him. You know what I'm saying? Not feel kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just, that was just because knew he loved me, and he knew that I love him. But saying it, you know what I'm saying? Because we ain't had that time. You know what I'm saying? Everything that your granddad did with me, I can remember like it was yesterday. Now don't get it twisted that he didn't spend no time. Because he took me to the wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He took me to wrestling. I remember when he came to one of my basketball games in that brown trench coat, and he came. I playing at the Bird Song. My cousin Buki was on my team, and when I saw him, it was time to show out. Because that wasn't the norm for him. He either had Bible study that he was teaching, or he did overtime at the shipyard or something. That wasn't a norm for him. Oh, I had to show out. You know what I'm saying? So I made it a point to spend the time that I felt like I didn't get with my dad. I made and the verbiage as far as the constant saying I love you. You know what I'm saying? Don't you better not hang up the phone without saying I love you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I made it a point, and that's probably where that really stemmed from. If I overdid it, it probably stemmed from that.
Yeah. No, I get it. It makes sense. There was times where you overdid it though. When I got when I got older, I remember this one time. I think I was 16 or 17. I think you had moved to Georgia. I was 17 when you moved to Georgia. I remember you moved to Georgia, and it was the summer of 2017. I think I was going into my senior year. So I think that was the summer of 2017. I was going into my senior year. And I remember, man, you, for lack of better words, start where you were like tweaking on me about like letting you know where I was at and calling you to check in and stuff like that. And I was like, mind you, for those people that don't know, like I grew up with my dad. Well, I grew up with both my parents, up until I want to say the age of 6 or 7, and then they split. And then I lived with my dad for I think a year or two. And then I moved 2 years, yeah, almost 3 years. And then I moved with my mom, and I spent the rest of my time with my mom. And my dad was still in my life. Like I would always go to Virginia. I would always come back here and every chance I got, because I did not like when I as a kid, it didn't set in that I would be living with my mom forever, essentially. But and that's that's just was me being a kid and not grasping the concept of things. And I don't know the whole ins and outs of what happened, but I dreaded staying in Georgia. So any chance I got, I would come to back to Virginia. So it's not to say that my dad wasn't in my life. It's not that we didn't have a relationship or he wasn't there, but when he moved, it seemed like it got turned up like all the way. And I remember we was going back and forth about it, and I was like so confused. I was like 17, like why you keep calling and want me, like he going harder than my mom going, like but my mom is that's a whole different woman right there, like very independent. Like it's kind of strange, the relationship that you had with your dad, like him not being there because he was doing what he had to do. It was a contrast with me coming up. That's kind of the relationship I had with mom, is that mom was so busy because she raising 3 kids and, in a state where we don't really know and we don't really have any family, you know what I'm saying? So like I can name everything that she went to that I had that was extracurricular, like whether it was a band recital or it was a track meet, a fight, or whatever. I know when she showed up, and that same thing, like that's when I knew I had to show out. You know what I'm saying? So that same, I'm just saying it's interesting to see.
I still remember that kick from that fight.
Yeah.
That you was in. That kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kick was dope.
Get with him, Fred. There you go. Catch your breath. There you go.
Go ahead, yeah.
But I was just pointing out that the contrast, like, and also pointing out that I can now see how that affected you, and then how it passed on to.
I just wanted, when it come to, and this probably every father, when it come to my kids, man, listen, I'm probably low key that dude, right? If that's what y'all still saying or whatever. But I could do that bid with a smile on my face and not miss a beat. So when it come to my kids, I wanted to know. I needed to know, especially when I'm in the same city now. I needed to know where you at, what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I wanted that. I think I really just wanted you to know that I was there and I got you. You could be your full self, and ain't nobody gonna do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm in the city now. You know what I'm saying? And I think I wanted to portray that to you and wanted to see you act on that. But I knew when I knew when I needed to peel it back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because during that time too, that's when I was getting further and further into, grounding myself and my spirituality. And meditating. I was getting further into that during that time, man. The light bulb had just went off one day. It was like, okay, he get it. Let him be himself. You know what I'm saying? Let him flow into how he gonna flow. He know you there. You know what I'm saying?
A big thing that I kind of realize is, I've kind of known this, but
realized or realizes? Which one? What you say?
One thing that I realized, but I was saying real, like, real. You just threw me off.
I don't know what just happened.
You might have heard. You getting old. You probably just heard something that is the voices or something.
Could be.
But one thing that I realized, or one thing I could take away from both Granddad and you is the talks that we would have is it, you know, like how you said you had that mental edge on everyone, on other people.
That's how I felt.
Yeah,
I felt that.
and I kind of felt the same way growing up because I would be able to have these talks with y'all, and not even just with you and Granddad, like even with grandma.
Because it don't be grandma. Your grandma powerful too, but it don't be surface talk.
Yeah, nah.
It don't get deep. It get deep quick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it be on so many different levels. You know what I'm saying? And, I just enjoy it. I think that's the edge. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
communication. I didn't realize how much communication affected me with y'all until I met a lot of my friends, and you know, and it wasn't that for them. Like they wouldn't have these talks with their parents, or they still don't have these conversations with their parents, or their parents don't really know who they are. And I always like that was always strange to me because I was always like, I feel like the people that should know who I am should be my parents. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I'm gonna tell y'all every single thing that I do in life, but I'm gonna be real with y'all and have
even if you don't, I already know. I know. I feel like I know. But go ahead. That's
but like I'm gonna have a real conversation with y'all and really like I'm gonna open up to y'all first before I just open up to everybody. Even if I think y'all won't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Exactly how I'm thinking it. You know what I'm saying? Or how I'm experiencing it. Because we all, granted, I know I'm going to experience or have experienced a lot of the same things that you've experienced. You know what I'm saying? You've lived this life before me. You know what I'm saying? And you're obviously at a further stage than I am. But it's like, you know, I'm always gonna have that feeling of like, oh, they might not understand where I'm, you know, because it's different now.
It's natural.
Yeah. But I always felt like it was important to always.
And that's the same way I used to feel about your granddad.
Mm.
He don't know what's going down out here. He a preacher.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He a church boy. I'm out here in these streets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's that separation that I felt like I needed to have.
Mm.
Not knowing that tadpole, as they used to call them, and some still do, grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Virginia, in the 757 area, you know, and he wasn't always that of a church boy, you know, or a preacher, you know what I'm saying? That's something that he transitioned into, you know. That's a calling that the Most High had on his life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That and he chose to go with that, but that's not what he always was. You know, but yeah.
And I think like the last thing I kind of want to ask is what were some worries? It's like a two-parter. What were some worries you had for me and the rest of your kids? Well, I want to say for me because I'm the oldest boy, but what were worries that you had for me based off of the things that you experienced, or just in general? And as I became older, I want to say like probably towards graduating high school and stuff like that, around that time, what things assured you maybe that I was doing assured you that I wouldn't, I guess, fall into those same things that you probably once worried about?
Well, that I seen.
Yeah.
My biggest worry, and you saying as far as you particularly, was I didn't want you to feel that you was out here by yourself. That's one of my biggest worries. I wanted you to know that your dad really, really had your back so you could be and express yourself in any way that you wanted to, or you want to even now, with no repercussions. You know what I'm saying? Everything come with repercussions, but I'm gonna take those repercussions. You feel me? And it ain't on no I'm the baddest type of person type thing. But because I'm with you, you can express yourself. And I always had the biggest worry that you was gonna hold yourself back because you had a fear of truly expressing yourself and just really going at shit. You know what I'm saying? Really going at things. You know. Because I always knew and felt that your authentic self is your money maker. You know what I'm saying? If you unleashed it. You know what I'm saying? So I've never, my biggest fear was to don't hold that shit back. And if it's pressure or intimidation coming from anywhere, let me know that. I'm going to eliminate whatever is holding you back from doing or expressing yourself the way that you need to express yourself, or that you may want to express yourself. Because once again, I can handle it. You ain't got to handle it.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So that was my biggest worry, that you would not, do that. But what I've learned about you is that your mind frame is where I wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? So now I could relax a little bit on that, because now you know where you want your life to go, or you feel you know where you want your life to go. And I feel that you have the tools now to take the necessary steps to achieve those things. So it made me be more lax and be able to say, all right, he came into his own man. You know what I'm saying? He know what he want. I feel like he know that I'm there on any level, ready to do or be anything that, you need me to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. Now that I know those things, and I feel like that you know those things, that weight has lifted, so to speak, if that makes sense. That I once used to had to bear, felt like I had to bear all the time. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the reasons why when me and your mom separated, that I had to keep you. I feel like I couldn't let you go to Georgia until I instilled some things in you.